Join me as I dive deep into the shocking details of France's plan to control African media and see if I can uncover the truth behind this controversial topic. Buckle up, because we're about to expose a French billionaire's secret plan to control African media and minds. Have you ever wondered why it seems like Western narratives dominate our airwaves? Well, get ready for a shock, because it's about to get worse. Vincent Bolloré, a French billionaire with a questionable past, is plotting a hostile takeover of MultiChoice, Africa's largest satellite TV provider. Now you might be thinking, so what? It's just business. But let me tell you, this is far from ordinary business. Bolloré already owns Canal+, which dominates francophone African media. With MultiChoice under his belt, he'd control what millions of Africans see on their screens every day. From Dakar to Dar es Salaam, from Cairo to Cape Town, one man could shape the narrative. Question for our viewers: how do you think this level of media control could impact African politics and culture? Share your thoughts in the comments. Before we continue, welcome to Pan-African Lens. If you're passionate about Africa's diverse cultures, rich history, development, and the contemporary issues shaping the continent and its diaspora, you've come to the right place. Be sure to subscribe and join the conversation as we explore these powerful stories together. Let's continue. Let's talk about Bolloré for a moment. He's a French billionaire, and he's not new to controversy. This isn't just some harmless businessman. He's a man who's admitted to corrupt activities in Congo. Yes, you heard that right. In fact, he's admitted to being involved in corruption in West Africa, particularly in countries like Togo and Guinea. And his media empire? Well, let's just say it's not exactly known for being neutral. In France, Bolloré turned CNews, a once respected TV channel, into the Fox News of France, a network that pushes far-right ideologies, racist rhetoric, and anti-immigrant narratives. This is the same man who wants to control Africa's most powerful media company. Let that sink in. What should alarm us even more is how he runs his media outlets. According to former employees, Bolloré is not interested in real journalism. He doesn't like journalists who question power or challenge his worldview. Instead, he uses his influence to quietly replace critical voices with those who align with his ideology. Journalists who don't fall in line with his agenda are subtly pushed out, and those who remain are expected to toe the line. So now, we have to ask ourselves, is this the kind of person we want controlling our media? Is this the kind of man we want deciding what our children watch on TV? Is this the person we want shaping the narratives that reach millions of African households? Now, some of you might be asking, why should we care about this? Why does it matter who owns MultiChoice? Here's why. Media isn't just entertainment. Media is power. Media shapes how we see the world, what we believe, and how we think about ourselves. It's no secret that for over 100 years, the West has controlled the airwaves, using soft power to influence cultures, politics, and economies worldwide. They understand the value of media, and now it's our turn to realize it too. Now let's zoom out for a moment. For over a century, Western powers have dominated global media. From newspapers to radio, from television to the internet, they've shaped the narrative about Africa and the rest of the world. This isn't just about entertainment. It's about soft power, about controlling how we see ourselves and our place in the world. Think about it. How often do you see positive stories about African leaders like Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso, Assimi Goïta of Mali, or Abdourahmane Tiani of Niger on Western media? How often do you hear about the positive developments happening across our continent? I challenge our viewers. Can you name 3 positive African news stories you've seen on Western media in the past month? If not, why do you think that is? My fellow Africans, it's time we understood the true power of media. It's not just about entertainment or news. Media shapes perceptions, influences decisions, and can even change the course of history. Just look at how China has used media to change its global image over the past few decades. Now, imagine if we had that power. Imagine if we could tell our own stories, shape our own narratives, and show the world the true face of Africa. That's what's at stake here. Question for our audience. How do you think African-controlled media could change global perceptions of our continent? Let's connect the dots. We have a French billionaire with a history of corruption in Africa, trying to take control of the continent's largest media company. Is this starting to sound like neo-colonialism to anyone else? Think about it. If Bolloré succeeds, he'll have unprecedented power to shape African public opinion. He could influence elections, sway public sentiment on important issues, and even impact international relations. And all of this would be controlled from Paris, not from any African capital. Here's a provocative question. Is this any different from the colonial era, when European powers controlled African resources and governments? Or is it just a more subtle form of the same old exploitation? So, what can we do about this looming threat? First and foremost, we need to raise awareness. Share this video, talk to your friends and family, and make sure everyone understands what's at stake. Secondly, we need to support African-owned media, whether it's local newspapers, online news sites, or independent TV stations. Every bit of support counts. The more diverse our media landscape, the harder it is for any one entity to dominate. Thirdly, we need to pressure our governments to scrutinize this deal. The South African Competition Commission is currently reviewing the proposed takeover. Let's make sure they understand the implications for African sovereignty and media freedom. Question for our activist viewers. What other actions can we take to resist this media takeover? Share your ideas in the comments. As we consider how to resist this media takeover, let's draw inspiration from the leaders of the Sahel. President Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso, Colonel Assimi Goïta of Mali, and General Abdourahmane Tiani of Niger have shown us what it means to stand up to neo-colonial influences. These leaders have taken bold steps to assert their nation's sovereignty, from renegotiating resource contracts to diversifying international partnerships. They've shown that African nations can chart their own course, free from Western dictates. Here's a thought-provoking question. How can we apply the lessons from the Sahel's resistance to the fight for media sovereignty? As we discuss media control, it's worth looking at how other nations have approached this issue. China, for instance, has invested heavily in its own media infrastructure and is now also expanding its presence in Africa rapidly. China has significantly expanded its media presence in Africa over the past decade, with several key players establishing a strong foothold on the continent. China Global Television Network, CGTN. Africa broadcasts news and cultural programs across the continent, while Xinhua News Agency operates bureaus in many African countries, providing news content. China Radio International reaches African audiences by broadcasting in multiple local languages. StarTimes, a Chinese-owned pay-TV provider, has been rapidly growing its presence in Africa. Additionally, China Daily Africa publishes a weekly newspaper focused on African affairs. These various media outlets collectively aim to promote China's perspective on global issues and strengthen Sino-African relations through media diplomacy, offering African audiences alternative viewpoints and content sources. How do you think increased Chinese media presence in Africa compares to Western media control? Is it a viable alternative, or just a different form of the same problem? As we wrap up this discussion, let's remember what's at stake. This isn't just about who owns which TV station. It's about who controls the stories we tell about ourselves, our continent, and our future. Imagine an Africa where our media celebrates our achievements, critically examines our challenges, and showcases our diverse cultures. An Africa where our children grow up seeing positive representations of themselves on screen. An Africa that tells its own story to the world. That's the future we're fighting for, and it's a future that's worth fighting for. So I call on all of you, journalists, activists, politicians, and everyday citizens, to join this fight. Let's stop Bolloré's takeover. Let's invest in African media. Let's tell our own stories. Final question for our viewers. What's your vision for the future of African media? How can we make that vision a reality? Remember, the power to shape our narrative lies in our hands. Let's not let it slip away. Thank you for watching Pan-African Lens, where we showcase Africa's heritage and discussing its present and future. If you found this video informative, Please like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell to stay updated on more Pan-African content.